Hey guys, it's MMA Vulture coming at you live with UFC 309 Miocic versus Jones recap. And we're going to go ahead and get right into it with the first bout of the night being Veronica Hardy and Eduarda Moura. And in this one, I actually had Eduarda Moura. She was plus money. She was one of my favorite underdogs of this week that I ended up saying was a lock, and she ended up winning. The lines ended up flipping last second. She ended up being a negative closer towards the fight. So if you guys took my advice earlier and got her on plus money, good shit. I got her on plus money. In this fight, Eduarda Moura was looking fantastic in the first two rounds. Her striking was looking clean, crisp. She was the obvious better striker. You could also tell that her strikes were definitely affecting Veronica Hardy. I feel as though the power was definitely a key factor here because Eduarda Moura was just tagging Veronica Hardy, and you could see her kind of like falling back, kind of like backpedaling. Whereas when Veronica Hardy was landing some nice shots herself, Eduarda Moura was kind of just walking forward, walking through them, eating them, if you will. You could just tell that the power was not there. The power difference was obviously on Eduarda Moura's side. Those extra 10 pounds did her justice, which is exactly what I thought was going to happen. I thought that she was going to be a lot stronger. There was going to be more pop in her shots. She was going to be a lot tougher to get down. And everything went exactly how I thought. The first two rounds she came out, absolutely looked phenomenal, outstruck, overwhelmed, and put on a show against Veronica Hardy, looking phenomenal in every single aspect, landing some takedowns, getting some control time. I mean, Eduarda Moura looked phenomenal. Then come third round is where it kind of gets a little bit shaky because you could tell Eduarda Moura is gassed out. She just looks a lot slower and just not all there. I feel as though she kind of went full out in the first two rounds. Yes, she won them, but you could tell she was in survival mode in the third round, to be completely honest. Yes, she was landing some strikes, but she was in dire need of air, to be completely honest. Like, she was just gassed out, and she just ended up surviving that third round, which she lost, in my opinion, and she got the unanimous decision 29-28 over Veronica Hardy. I knew that Veronica Hardy was no easy task, but Eduarda Moura, with those extra 10 pounds, made it look easy in the first two rounds. She needs to work on that gas tank, that cardio of hers, and she will be a great, great fighter. We know that she has good grappling, good striking. She just needs to work on that cardio, needs to work on that gas tank, and then she'll be phenomenal. I believe that this is her weight class. I know she was talking about, going back down. I think she needs to stick at this weight class. I think she's going to do phenomenal in this weight class, and I think this was the best business move for her, to stay at 125. Great job by Eduarda Moura. If you tagged along with me on that, good shit. And let's run it up to the next bout on this card in Bassil Hafez and Oban Elliott, which was a phenomenal, phenomenal fight. It was Oban Elliott absolutely fucking destroying Bassil Hafez. Bassil Hafez is super powerful. He's a powerhouse that throws looping shots that's just not very accurate, not very technical. On the opposite side, you had Oban Elliott, who is super technical and just picked apart Bassil Hafez. He legitimately picked him apart, overwhelmed him, and found the knockout shot on Bassil Hafez, which is very surprising. Oban Elliott, we know he has power, but he's mainly a decision type of fighter. He goes to the decision a lot. This time, he didn't let it hit the cards, even though we knew he was obviously winning dominantly. He beat the shit out of Bassil Hafez, picking him apart, overwhelming him, and then finding that knockout shot and ground and pounding him to finish it. It was absolutely incredible. Oban Elliott is legit, and you guys should definitely be watching out for him. He's gone up against the best of the best and has constantly won time and time again. I think he's going to be getting a ranked fight hopefully soon, so definitely be checking out the Welsh gangster and Oban Elliott, which I thought was a confident pick, and he showed it here. Absolute dominant performance, ending with a knockout over Bassil Hafez, who is just a powerhouse with no accuracy and sucks at putting himself in positions to use that power. Great job if you're on the Oban Elliott side with me. Good shit. And let's move right along to the next bout, and Gall versus Ramiz Brahimaj. And I was on the Gall side, and I was completely wrong on this. I thought Gall was going to be able to maintain that distance, kind of strike from the outside and pick Brahimaj apart, because he looked good in his fight against Gall looked good in his last fight, had some moments. I get that he lost, but he looked good in that fight. In this fight, they were going back and forth. They were trading shots pretty evenly during this match. As you can see, 30-31. They were trading back and forth. It was really close until Brahimaj lands a nasty right that drops Gall and lands flush on his chin. You can see Gall just drop a nasty, powerful right hook to the chin of Gall, puts him down, and it was absolutely devastating to see. Gall, yes, I know he was 7-6 prior to this. I thought he would be able to recover from that and get the W over Brahimaj, in which I was completely fucking wrong. Brahimaj is a legit fighter with great knockout power, and he looked good in the striking department. I mean, I gotta say, his footwork looked good. He looked slick on the feet. He was very technical, just like Gall. I mean, it was very close battle in which Brahimaj found that chin of Gall and knocked him the fuck out. Great job by Brahimaj. I was on the wrong side of this, so if you have Brahimaj, good job on you. And let's move it to the next bout on this card, in which I was wrong again, in Marcin Tybura versus Jhonata Diniz. I was on Jhonata Diniz because I thought that this was going to be similar to the Carl Williams fight, in the sense that Marcin Tybura kind of has a similar fight style, and I felt like Marcin Tybura was going to be the same, to be honest. I thought Jhonata Diniz was going to be able to snub the takedowns. Maybe Marcin might find one eventually, but I thought Jhonata Diniz would eventually work his way up to his feet. No, I was completely fucking wrong. Marcin Tybura, with the heavy grappling exchanges, found the success and took down Jhonata Diniz. Not only that, maintained control of him for minutes at a time, every single time, and was just landing some nice ground and pound, and was just going to work on Jhonata Diniz. Elbows, punches, he had full mount at times. I mean, dude, Marcin Tybura had great success in the grappling area in this fight. I really did not see it coming, because I thought, again, Jhonata Diniz fighting that Carl Williams, I thought he had a similar fight camp in that one, so I thought it would be the same in this one, which I was completely wrong. Marcin Tybura, heavy pressure on Jhonata Diniz was just too much. He overwhelmed him, made him completely uncomfortable, dismantled him. I mean, he was landing some devastating ground and pound, and ended up getting a doctor stoppage at the end of the second round, going into the third round. Got a doctor stoppage in which Jhonata Diniz was arguing. He was pissed off. He wanted to continue and fight that third round, but they called off the fight, and Marcin Tybura ended up winning. It was brutal elbows that almost looked like they were going to end it before the last 10 seconds of the second round, and which it ended up being the doctors that stopped it. It sucks, but Diniz was getting absolutely pummeled. I think it was the right decision. Jhonata Diniz was just not able to do anything to Marcin Tybura. He was too much for him. He got knocked out, not really knocked out, but technical knockout due to doctor stoppage. Good shit on Marcin Tybura. Great game plan, came into this, used that clear-cut grappling advantage, and absolutely worked Jhonata Diniz from top position. And let's move along to the next fight, in which was a very interesting one between David Onama and Roberto Romero. Because David Onama, as you can see, pre-fight was a negative 2,500, which is absolutely insane for any MMA fight in this. This is absolutely insane. You have David Onama at negative 2,500, Roberto Romero at plus 1,000, and coming out into this in this first round, Roberto Romero was coming out with vengeance. This kid looked absolutely phenomenal in the first round, coming out, outstriking David Onama, really picking him apart, and landing even a knockdown in the mix of it. But then David Onama, towards the middle of the first round, started finding that range, started finding success in the striking, really started to show that he was the better fighter, and you could see Roberto a little bit start to slow down, if you will. And David Onama finds the knockdown in the later of the first round, which ends up taking it away from Roberto Romero, in my opinion. And it's 1-0 going into the second round. Both had knockdowns in the first round. Both had moments in the first round. Very close first round, but I gave it to David Onama. Then we have the second round where David Onama starts to find his striking, starts to find that range, like I said, and continues at picking apart Roberto Romero, using those leg kicks as well, mixing it up to the body, mixing it up to the head, and just finding success overall. You could see Roberto Romero start wearing the shots from David Onama and just start slowing down as this fight goes on. You can just see it starting to just flip towards David Onama. Yes, Roberto Romero started off pretty strong, but as this fight progressed, David Onama showed that he was the better fighter, was picking apart Roberto Romero's second, third round, was just eating at him, was just using those shots to mix into the head and to the body and just beat him by unanimous decision. David Onama started off a little bit shaky, but found his grounding, found his range, found his striking, and picked apart Roberto Romero and looked like the obvious dominant fighter in this, getting the 30-27 unanimous decision. Absolutely insane first round of this fight. Then the next rounds were kind of obvious. It was David Onama. Great fight in general still, though. And I had David Onama. Good shit if you had him, too. Not very much value, obviously, sitting at a negative 2,500, so definitely not much money to get out of that one. Then we have the next fight in Jim Miller versus Damon Jackson. And I was wrong on this one. I picked Damon Jackson because I thought he was going to get it done. And man, oh man, what was I thinking here? Every single time Jim Miller comes into it, he's proves everybody wrong. He is an absolute fucking tank, dude. There is nothing else to say other than Jim Miller is an absolute fucking tank that never stops rolling. This guy, you would think that it was gonna be a double retirement after this fight. Fuck no, he's like, I'm ready to go again. He's trying to fight again. Jim Miller is an absolute dog, a veteran, an OG that is just one of a kind, to be honest. I get that he hasn't fought for the title. I get that, but dude, Jim Miller is an absolute dog, absolute savage, one of a kind, and just put on a showcase here against Damon Jackson where he's striking the crisp, clean. Damon Jackson had a few shots of his own that were landing, but ultimately it was Jim Miller getting the guillotine choke on Damon Jackson as Damon Jackson's trying to shoot for a takedown. And Jim Miller locks it up quickly. Damon Jackson tried to go for the double leg, and Jim Miller locks up the neck of Damon Jackson, does not let go, ends up grabbing the legs with his own legs. Jim Miller grabs the legs of Damon Jackson with his legs. Oh my gosh, I'm trying to say. And makes it extra tight and just locks in that guillotine choke and does not let go and rips on the neck of Damon Jackson, getting the finish via guillotine choke in the first round. A couple exchanges from both sides, but ultimately Jim Miller getting the better of Damon Jackson due to Damon Jackson being a little bit too aggressive on the takedowns, leaving his neck wide open. And you can't do that against a veteran like Jim Miller who locks it in tight, locks in those legs, and snaps that guillotine choke in place. Good shit on Jim Miller if you had him. I thought he was a very live dog. I thought Damon Jackson would just dog him and win this via decision, but no, Jim Miller is still that guy, has been putting on performances even as of late in his career, and never fails to put on a show. And let's go ahead and run it up to the featured prelim of the night in Jonathan Martinez versus Marcus McGee. And this was a straight up striking fest. This was little to literally no grappling exchanges, in which Marcus McGee was the better all-around fighter. You could see Marcus McGee had the speed advantage. His striking was a lot quicker, a lot cleaner, and just a lot better. His strikes were definitely more powerful, were definitely affecting Jonathan Martinez. Not only that, Jonathan Martinez was struggling to really find his range, really honestly put out a volume. I feel as though Jonathan Martinez kind of struggled with striking in general, just really wasn't striking, I feel. In which Marcus McGee kind of walked over him. Yes, Jonathan got around, in which his striking started to come together. But again, third round comes and just the striking is gone. He had one round where his striking looked good and he was actually striking and looking like he wanted to be in the fight. But then the next round, again, the same thing as the first round, just not much volume, not really looking like he was there. He looked very flat, very dull this fight, in which Marcus McGee took full advantage, looked like the complete better fighter, the more technical fighter, landing the cleaner, crisper shots, also doing more damage to Jonathan Martinez, and got the unanimous decision 29-28 and looked good doing so. I was on the Marcus McGee side, and I thought he was going to get it done by knockout, to be completely honest, because of the explosiveness he has. But no, he gets it done via unanimous decision and looked good doing so, like I said. And if you were on Marcus McGee route, good shit. Very close line in which I thought Marcus McGee definitely had this. And he showed it. And let's go ahead and move it to our main card opener in Mauricio Ruffy versus James Llontop. And in this one, I had Mauricio Ruffy over James Llontop, and Mauricio Ruffy kind of sold me, man. Yes, he got the win. I thought he was going to do it inside the distance. I thought those extra 1.2 pounds would definitely help James Llontop, but also affect him in the sense of cardio and just getting tired over time. Man, the only thing I can say about James Llontop is this guy is a tough, durable-ass fighter. This guy will not fucking go down. Yes, he went down once. Mauricio Ruffy put him down once, but the recovery time from James Llontop is insane. He recovered quickly, got back to his feet, exploded back to his feet, and was back in the fight. Absolutely fucking insane. Mauricio Ruffy was landing some devastating left hands, even right hands too. He was mixing up his stances, and he was landing at will. He had some very nice striking. He also was mixing it up to the head and to the body. I mean, dude, Mauricio Ruffy was just looking like the better fighter all around. Yes, James Llontop had a round where he actually was doing phenomenal. I mean, his striking started to pick up. He started to find that range and started to look good. But overall, it was Mauricio Ruffy, just the better striker, to be completely honest. You could tell. James Llontop was starting to slow down as this fight goes on. You could see Mauricio Ruffy start to take over. His striking looked a lot better. His jab was landing on James Llontop. He was maintaining that distance, kind of just jabbing him and then landing that overhand left, that overhand right, and it was landing crisp and clean and flush on James Llontop. You could hear that, hear the sound of it. But James Llontop has an iron chin, man. This guy was not going down. He was eating shots left and right, still walking forward, still trying to fight, still putting in that work. James Llontop is nobody to sleep on. I mean, he put on an absolute showcase in the sense that he did not want to go down. He's a warrior. And Mauricio Ruffy gets all the props in the sense that he has laser hands and looked good in this fight. He absolutely worked, outpicked apart, and shined in the striking against James Llontop and got the 29-28 unanimous decision. On the other side, James Llontop, nothing bad to say. I can't say anything bad. Iron chin. Besides the fact that he missed weight, I will say something bad about that. He needs to get that shit together. It's annoying how a bunch of people keep missing weight. But let's go ahead and run it up to the next fight on the main card, in which I was wrong on this one as well. I had Karine Silva over Viviane Araujo, in which she looked good in the beginning. I mean, Karine Silva looked good. She was outstriking Viviane Araujo. She was looking slick on the feet. Her footwork looked good. But as the fight actually went on, it was Viviane Araujo that looked better and had the better cardio and gas tank. Viviane Araujo started to put on a pace, started to overwhelm, outwork, and outdog Karine Silva due to the fact that Karine was just gassing out and was just slowing down, and it was giving Viviane Araujo the advantage. And I was very disappointed because I thought Karine Silva was going to win this, but in that third round, she kind of just looked dull, flat. You could tell she was just completely gassed and just needs to work on that gas tank. I mean, she's a hell of a fighter, don't get me wrong, but she lacks in the cardio, lacks in the gas tank area, in which Viviane Araujo did exactly what she needed to do, picked apart, found her range relatively early, found the striking success, also found the grappling success, taking down Karine Silva, maintaining her on the ground, garnering some control time. I mean, she landed 3 out of 3 takedowns. Obviously, Karine Silva needs to work on her takedown defense because Viviane Araujo was landing them at will. So that is something also to note. Viviane Araujo looked good in this fight, outstriking, outworking, even looking good in the grappling department and picking apart Karine Silva, getting the 29-28 unanimous decision. Good shit if you were on the Viviane Araujo route. I was on the Karine Silva. I really thought she was going to outdog Viviane Araujo in a very close battle. I knew it was going to be 29-28. I just thought it was going to favor Karine Silva, and I thought she was going to put on a little bit better of a performance. And let's move along to the next main card fight in Bo Nickal versus Paul Craig. And this one went kind of how I expected it, in the sense that I kind of thought Bo Nickal was going to try and showcase his striking. I thought that there would be at least some grappling exchanges. Hell no. 0 grappling exchanges at all. Not even any clinch exchanges. At one point, Bo Nickal literally went to, out of instincts, went to go shoot on Paul Craig and immediately stopped and backpedaled. He did not want to enter any type of grappling exchanges with Paul Craig. Instead, he decided to take it a different route, show off his striking, in which he did show off his striking. I mean, he looked a lot better than Paul Craig in the striking department, in the sense that he had the stiff jab, he had the quicker, cleaner hands on the feet, he was landing the more explosive shots. That overhand left on Paul Craig was open every single time. Not only that, I mean, Bo Nickal really just showed us that he has striking, though he does still, I believe, need to work on it, because Paul Craig is, like we know, isn't even known for his striking. He's more known for his grappling, and it was a fairly close striking affair every single round. I get that he won every single round, but fairly close striking affair every single round. I do think that for him to keep advancing in this in the rankings, he does need to work on his boxing, does need to work on his striking. That's the only area I think he really needs to work on before he becomes absolutely top level in this division. But Bo Nickal went out, showcased his striking, in which the crowd booed at the very end because they got it because he got the unanimous decision instead of getting the finish. And not much you can do. I mean, Bo Nickal went out there, put on a show, showed his striking, and looked absolutely phenomenal doing so. I get that he didn't get a finish, but not every fight can be a finish. Good shit on Bo Nickal, getting rid of Paul Craig via unanimous decision. And let's move along to the co-main event of the night in Charles Oliveira versus Michael Chandler. And I had Charles Oliveira as my lock of the week, and I was absolutely on fucking point with this fight. I knew exactly what was going to happen in this fight, in the sense that Oliveira has been continuously getting better, has continuously been up against the best fighters, has continuously put on a show, and he put on a show here. Michael Chandler has been out for a very long time, has been searching for that Conor McGregor fight, and hasn't really been doing much in terms of fighting and getting prepared, and been in the ring and getting that ring rust off. Michael Chandler showed that here. He was not in the game at all. Charles Oliveira absolutely dominated him for 4 whole rounds, taking him to the ground, outlanding him, outstriking him, picking him apart, overwhelming him, and just looking like the all-around better fighter in every single aspect. Striking, grappling, whatever you want to say, he looked better every single time against Michael Chandler. There's nowhere he looked better. Yes, obviously in the 5th round, I was shitting a brick, bro. I was absolutely shitting a brick. Those 4 rounds, easy breeze. I'm like, this is an absolute lock. Easy money. Then we get to the 5th round, and I'm like, holy shit, Michael Chandler might win. He's fucking landing. He's landed the nice left, right, and then started ground and pounding Michael Chandler, even though they were all to the back of the head. I mean, the ref wasn't saying shit, so obviously, what the fuck was happening there? That's besides the fact. Even Dana was like, what the hell was that referee doing? A shit ton of behind the back of the head blows, in which Michael Chandler almost finishes the fight, but Charles Oliveira digs deep, ends up surviving that 5th round, and it was a obvious dominant performance for Charles Oliveira, in which I thought exactly this was going to happen. As this fight went along, I thought it was for sure going to favor Charles Oliveira. Michael Chandler hasn't been in the ring for a very long time. As this fight goes on, I knew his cardio was going to diminish, his power was going to diminish. Oliveira was going to be able to take him down a lot easier as this fight went along, maintain him on the ground a lot easier. And that's exactly what happened. Charles Oliveira used the grappling advantage that he had, took him down, advanced positions, maintained control of him for the better half of every single round, and looked dominant in every single round. And Charles Oliveira ended up winning this 49-46 via unanimous decision and looked absolutely dominant. I loved that Charles won this like this because I knew that Michael Chandler, just that ring rust is a factor, and it showed. And let's run it up to the main event of the evening. And if you guys haven't, make sure you guys hit that like and subscribe button. And let's jump to this main event in Jon Jones versus Stipe Miocic. Absolute banger fight. It was back and forth for the better half of first and second round. You could see Jon Jones was obviously getting the better of the exchanges. He was landing the nicer elbows, nicer knees. He was landing the cleaner strikes, hooks. Dude, Jon Jones is just an absolute specimen, to be completely honest. What his real key to winning this fight was those body shots. Jon Jones studied that film, found that wide opening of the body from Stipe, because Stipe is known to take shots to the head, and you could just see it just doesn't affect Stipe. Stipe is a tank, an absolute warrior. I mean, he's one of the best heavyweights of all time, and Jon Jones just made him look like his bitch, to be completely honest. Jon Jones studied the film, found the weakness of the body of Stipe, used those leg kicks of his to eat away at Stipe's body, and you could see that they were hurting Stipe from early on in the fight all the way to the end of the fight. You could see that they were definitely eating away at his midsection, and Jon Jones knew that coming into this fight. He ended up finding a takedown early in the first, garnering a lot of control time, landing some nice elbows from top position, some devastating elbows, to be completely honest, in which, dude, Stipe is an absolute dog. I mean, dude, it didn't look like any wear and tear on his face. Maybe he had a little bruise under his eye, but no cuts, not really much of anything after some brutal elbows from Jon Jones, in which second round, same thing, back and forth bout in terms of striking, in which I think Jon Jones got the better of him. Then go into the third round, where Jon Jones is outstriking him, picking him apart, starting to look a lot better as the rounds go on. It's starting to favor Jon Jones a lot more, in which he lands this spinning back kick and lands it flush on the left side of Stipe Miocic's ribs, and Miocic drops to the ground, and then you can see Jon Jones ground and pound him and end the fight. But really, it was that spinning back kick that looked like it maybe broke a couple ribs, possibly, and Jon Jones looked absolutely phenomenal. This fight did deliver, I will say that. It did deliver, but I really want to know what happens next. There's so many things that could happen. The Pereira fight that Dana White doesn't really want to happen, but could get pushed towards. Then you have the Tom Aspinall fight that Jon Jones, again, ducking pre-fight press conference, he was ducking him. Post-fight press conference, he's still ducking him. So we really don't know what's going to happen. Jon Jones, like I said, is probably going to disappear, like Dana said, for a while, then come back and they're going to figure it out. Jon Jones looked phenomenal tonight. We're going to have to see what happens with him in the future. Hopefully he fights Tom Aspinall and stops ducking, but we'll see later on. Only time will tell. Make sure you guys hit that like and subscribe button, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.